Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Above the Haze. With me today, Tom Cortez, founder and managing partner of Emergent Beverages. Emergent Beverages is the hemp beverage space, THC-infused beverages, and has just received some really great news of national launch in Total Wine and More and some other major distributors in different states across the United States. Tom, welcome to Above the Haze.
Glad to be here, Eric.
So, want to jump right in for the audience, and a lot of folks are paying attention. The Total Wine and More news coming out of Texas was earth-shattering in many ways. Definitely a watershed moment where mainstream grocery retail is getting into the cannabinoid space with THC-infused beverages. Is this as big a deal as I think it is, or what kind of words would you describe as that moment there?
Well, it is a big deal, but they launched originally in Minnesota, did some test stores, about 3 stores, and then expanded, and then rolled into Connecticut, but nothing like Texas on this scale, right? I mean, we're talking Texas and Louisiana launch, total of 38 stores in Texas and 4 stores in Louisiana. So on this scale, nothing's been done in terms of THC infused beverages, and with us representing basically over 27 SKUs in the space, that's pretty phenomenal. I've been in the alcohol industry about 35 years, and I've never seen that many SKUs coming from one supplier in a new category all at once. So that was very unique in itself.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on it. It didn't start in Texas, but Texas is definitely different than Minnesota and even Louisiana. I mean, great that it's in Louisiana in a southern state, but Texas is a bellwether state for sure that other states look to, especially more conservative leaning states, southern states, so on and so forth. So, do you think that the fact that it's Texas has even more meaning behind it than just a place with a lot of stores?
No, I mean, it's, what do they say? Everything's bigger in Texas. So, it does have a lot more meaning from what I believe, because there are 5 states that control or basically capture over 70% of all beverage sales: California, Texas, Florida, New York, and Illinois. And this is one of the big bellwether states. Texas, now has more Fortune 500 companies than any other state in the union, and so it's a big deal. It's just not Emergent though that's driving the space. There's a lot of great brands and companies out there that are leading the charge, and we're just happy to be a part of that.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to just dial into you. You are not a cannabis guy. You're not a hemp guy, are you? You're a beverage guy, and I kind of want to dive into the aspect of, again, a level of importance that the beverage industry is what's seizing on this opportunity. It's not really the hemp and the cannabis industry in the same ways as, yes, there are cannabinoids in it. And yes, there are hemp farmers involved and there are hemp production folks involved and so on and so forth. But we're in a largely different category in that it's coming through something that is also heavily regulated, which is beverages, food products, so on and so forth. Why is it important that this isn't just coming from the hemp product space, but is coming from people like you with 30 years in beverages, and the rest of the members of the Emergent team, for that matter, who we can certainly share who's involved and what's going on. But I think the broader topic of why this is interesting, that the beverage industry is what's picking this up, and the traditional relationships that exist there between brands and distributors and how the deals get made and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're trying to bring alternative adult beverages, whether they be non-alc or hemp infused, which we like to call non-infused or infused beverages, to traditional channels of trade. So your convenience stores, your convenience channel, your club channel, your grocery channel, your liquor channel. It's providing access for consumers other than just through those legal recreational states, which have limited distribution. People, you look at grocery stores, for instance, they have a bank, they have a dry cleaner, they have, a whole sort of different businesses within the main entity, right? And it's providing convenience for consumers. So it gives them access to low dose, micro dose, kind of entry level THC beverages, whereby they can experiment, try different flavor profiles, different milligrams, different price points, et cetera, et cetera. It's your traditional channels of trade, and providing those consumers with access.
I think, being in this space for a while, I've really come to the recognition that what you guys in the beverage world were waiting for was this holy grail non-alc adult category where the what people were really looking for was moderate, some kind of effect. The same effect that you might look for in alcohol, its cousin in THC at a low dose place. Is hemp like something that you guys just think of as that missing link in what the non-alc category was always destined to be?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been studies out there. As we know, you've got 40% of Gen Z who don't drink, but the number one thing that they miss with not drinking alcohol is the psychoactive effect. I mean, cannabis has been around for centuries, right? Thousands of years. But it's the first time that you've been able to get this product in a beverage format, right? Other than through flour or through a gummy or something in terms of an edible. It's another alternative for people to socialize. So, for instance, if you go to someone's house and you knock on the door and you're there for a dinner party, what's the first thing they ask you? What would you like to drink? And they're not giving you a tray of gummies and pre-rolls and everything else. It's
Well,
usually,
they might.
well, they might, exactly, but not the consumers we're speaking of, right? We're talking about the everyday woman executive, the soccer mom, the construction worker, the blue collar, the white collar. It crosses all demographics, all ethnicities.
Would you say it's a much broader target audience here? The
Oh,
cannabis profile has historically been 25 to 45-year-old male. Um, what's the difference here? Is this everyone else?
yeah, I mean, I was setting end caps in Total Wine myself, and I can tell you, I had a 70 plus couple walk up and they were like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And when you explain it to them, I mean, they walked out of the store with 3 4 packs. That was a $60 purchase. And they love the fact of what THC does for them, or what it can do for them in terms of not just the psychoactive aspect, but sleep, some of the other things that are associated with it, but also, the next day you're not hungover, you're not dehydrated. Some of the impacts that you get when you overconsume or when you're consuming alcohol, you don't find those with THC. So it's resonating. Anyone from LDA all the way up to there's senior citizens, retirement home citizens. So it's a great thing to be able to offer an alternative psychoactive product that people enjoy. Or
Is there a is there a benefit to the consumer safety discussion that the way in which these products are coming to market is through a group of folks, production people that are heavily regulated and in many instances certified with the types of process, the production of the beverage itself, the mixing and all these things, the science of it. Does it make it a different product? And what I really think I'm wondering is what we're really saying in the hemp beverage space, that the beverage itself as an ingestible food product can be demonstrated to be a safe product on its own. That it's going through a process, the things that are mixed in there, the ingredients, the flavoring, the emulsion, all the things that go into a final product. That at the end of that, it's a safe product that people are not going to be harmed from. Whatever the debate about the cannabinoid ingestion might be, which I think, as far as adults are concerned, the argument that it's unsafe at certain levels, at 5 milligrams or whatever, 10 milligrams even, is a non-health factor. Um, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we do at Emergent, we have FDA certified co-packers across the country. Our products are submitted through a third party FDA approved laboratory, whereby we not only test the THC amounts within the product, we also do microbial testing. We do 5 panel tests for pesticides and metals and everything else to ensure that our products are consumer safe, first and foremost, consumer safety, and that everything that we have in our products comply with what we actually list on the labels. And so that's first and foremost in everything we do. And just to give you an idea, we talked about some of the emergent partners within Emergent Beverages. Breck Speed was former chairman CEO of Mountain Valley Spring Water. He was the chairman of the National Water Bottle organization, nonprofit that basically looked at all of this stuff through water. But also, he's built 3 co-packing manufacturing plants. He's built a PET plant. That owns Farmington Research, which actually does the emulsion. And so, we understand manufacturing. And so we literally go in and vet every co-packer that we produce in. Breck and his partner with Farmington Research, which is Cameron, Michelle, we basically go in and walk the plants, talk to the personnel, look at their production facility, how they're producing. All of those things are vetted before we even produce with any co-packer.
I mean, I think that's great. I think one of the things that we expect to see developed in this industry space are true standards. Standards of production that allow for a transparent process, that everyone knows what's going on and what's happening, and that because there are standards, allow for things that are out of standard not to make it into the final product. How important do you think it is that national standards be developed and adopted, and why does that matter at all?
Well, of course it matters. I mean, we want a safe and reliable category where products that are coming in are meeting certain thresholds, right? First and foremost, you can't have an industry unless you're consumer safe. First and foremost, so we make sure we take very diligent efforts to make sure we're taking care of that aspect. And from a national perspective, one of the things we want to do is we do want to be regulated, right? We want to be reasonably regulated, just like alcohol. We would love to be a part of the TTB, and we believe in taxation, but reasonable taxation. All of those things that apply to alcohol. We're working hard with individuals and with attorneys, lobbyists such as yourself, whatever. We're doing all these things. Not just for Emergent, but for the industry as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Breck Speed, as you mentioned his name, 2 or 3 years ago, he came on and he and I were talking about the potential of hemp beverages, and it's fun to now have an end cap, if you would, with you coming on to talk about the success. Because I think in our discussion that we were both predicting that the beverage as a vehicle for cannabinoids was actually the strongest vehicle that you could imagine for normal interaction and relationship with the community. That people would be more comfortable with it in a beverage form than in a smokable or in another form of edible, and that because of the non-alc category and how very broad it could be in the different types of offerings, that you could have a very competitive marketplace within that. So it's very cool for me. But tell us, who else is on your team, and kind of give some backgrounds of how you guys came together and what your shared goals are now.
Yeah, well, I founded Emergent Beverage back in like March of 2020. Focused on, I didn't want to be another wine broker, beer broker, spirit broker. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I was just looking for a niche in the market. And what I noticed internationally across like the United Kingdom and Europe, Australia, New Zealand, that these non-alcoholic spirits-based products and non-alcoholic wines and beers were really taking off. And it had to all do, and I think it accelerated with COVID for sure, but it all had to do with health and wellness. And so I really focused on that, brought in different international clients, and began selling the non-infused space. And then because of that, I was selling a brand called Beckett's, which was made by Tenleys, which is a publicly Canadian traded company. They made a cannabis infused beverage for the cannabis industry in California, but they also did a non-alc product called Beckett's. And we were fortunate, or I was fortunate, to get that into Total Wine and More national, and it's nationwide, for RTDs and 4 spirit SKUs. And I met Doug Fulton because of that, because Doug was on the office to the CEO for Tenley's at that time. Doug had since left, and we stayed connected. And we came up with this idea looking at the new hemp D9 category, and that was going to be kind of the next big move in the industry from non-alc to basically non-alc infused. And Doug and I eventually met Breck and Keith Lacewell, who are both partners now in Emergent, when we were trying to put together a national organization, a nonprofit organization that would lead the charge with this category. And so first it was Doug and I, and then we brought on Breck. Breck knew, we met Keith because Breck knew Keith, and we also met Michael O'Donnell, who is a former Anheuser-Busch executive for a number of years and a general manager of an Anheuser-Busch wholesaler. And so we kind of all eventually worked it out where we're a team now, and we're all partners in Emergent.
All beverage, folks.
All beverage, 150 years of beverage experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that you guys have definitely pegged it correctly, and we expect to see a lot of growth in that category. And frankly, just an observer's perspective, I think that the idea that you can have a transparent and regulated process with standards that are reasonable from both sides. You want the state to be reasonable, you want the government to be reasonable, and you want the actors to be reasonable as well. And I do think that the brands that are rising right now in the mainstream and more of the legitimate spaces are the ones that are adhering to a clear, transparent process and a low dose scenario. Probably no more than 10 milligrams, though I think that there are some brands out there at higher. Do you think that there is a place for the Delta 8s, other types of cannabinoids, not Delta 9, or the really concentrated high milligram, like 100 milligram plus? Is that what this is, or is that something different?
No, I think it's different. I think you're going to find potentially long term where your higher dose will still go through dispensaries, whether it be hemp and or cannabis. This is, in many states, let's just look at Texas, for instance, you cannot buy spirits in a grocery and or liquor store. You can only buy it you can't buy liquor in a grocery store. You can only buy it in a liquor store. So, will that be the same for hemp? Who knows? Or for cannabis, but I think you might find higher dose going through dispensaries, and you'll find recreational low dose, like microdose, 5 milligram stuff, 3 milligram, being available in traditional channels of trade. And we're already seeing that. And now whether or not that remains long term, I wish I had a crystal ball, but we don't. So, we're trying to really lead in the forefront to educate not only consumers and distributors, but legislators, and the benefits of having an alternative adult beverage to alcohol.
Absolutely. Now, last little segment here. Um, some of the issues that brands face are you might have to have 30 different labels if you have 30 different label regulations in the different states, and that certainly poses a challenge. You have places that, like Florida, for example, that are fixated on products being marketed or advertised to kids, which makes sense, and other places have come out and said that. Where is the line, though? In Florida, for example, they say no animal characters. Okay, but if we were to compare a duckhorn wine with a duck on a hemp beverage, why is one attractive to children and one not attractive to children? Are some of these label concerns based in don't advertise to kids being overblown to a place where they're overly burdensome?
Well, there's been some players out there that have kind of, I think, overstepped the bounds in that, and I understand where the legislators are coming to. And first and foremost, we definitely only want these for 21 plus consumers. Matter of fact, in many states, almost all states, I don't know where it's required that you put 21 plus on your packaging, but we do it with all of our emergent clients to make sure that they understand it's an adult beverage and that there are um, regulatory things in place where carding and those type of things should be occurring at retail establishments, just like for alcohol, to make sure you're of legal age. Um, but this is why we need a TTB or an FDA to come in with kind of a set of standards, nationally, so we're not jumping over these hurdles from a consumer packaged goods industry, right? It's we're dealing with not only redemption values and things like that, but different wording for different states and requirements, and that makes it very difficult on our clients and on us in terms of following the regulatory landscape.
Right on. Well, Tom, I've really appreciated this opportunity to talk with you. Last thing, if you could, synthesize your experience over the last few years into a single word, how would you describe your journey to now?
Um, well, I'll give you two words: hang on,
Hang on.
because it's moving so fast. I mean,
Yeah,
it took a while for the non-alc, non-infused segment to kind of catch up to Europe, but it's here. And I have not seen anything like this in terms of the expansion on hemp THC beverages. I mean, it's just exploding. I mean, the amount of calls we get each day from clients, from distributors, et cetera. I mean, it is really kind of turned the page now. We're at the top of the. I mean, we're climbing the hill, right? So, and it's happened very quickly.
absolutely. Well, please keep up the good work, and your focus on consumer safety, and at the end of the day, being able to stand on a safe consumer product. I think that's the right approach, and I appreciate you out there leading the charge in that way. So thanks for coming on. Tom Cortez, Emergent Beverage. I'm Eric Costa. This has been Above the Haze. See you next time.
Thanks, Eric.